Hello, people of the world watching new vehicle reviews on the internet. Welcome to this, the 2026 Subaru BRZ TS edition, which stands for Tuned by Subaru Technica International. And today I'm going to get up in the air, we're a nerd out on the tech specs, see what makes this thing unique, and then go give it the beans. First things first, out back in the exhaust department, dual stainless steel tips, single muffler manufactured by Sango. Despite it being tuned by STI, the exhaust is standard to the other BRZ models. Out back, the BRZ TS edition utilizes a all steel in construction, double wishbone rear suspension configuration, cast iron rear knuckles, as well as the upper links. Everything else is stamped steel. In the dampening department, the TS edition has Hitachi STI tuned dampers. The internals of the damper and the spring rate might be different, but visually that doesn't look like it's out of an STI part catalog. Rear anti-sway bar, which is still mounted in the inverse direction of the GR86, measures in at 14mm and change diameter, unchanged from the non-TS editions. Providing the traction out back is a Toyota-sourced Torsen limited slip differential with a 4.1 final drive ratio. Moving onward into the center, exhaust system still all constructed out of stainless steel, and mid-pipe resonator manufactured by Sango, unchanged from the non-TS edition, which that mid-pipe measures in at approximately 60mm in diameter, or a little less than 2.5-inch SAE. The 2026 Subaru BRZ TS edition, chassis code ZN8, is now in its fourth model year and weighs in at 2,851 pounds with a 53 to 47 front to rear weight distribution, which makes it approximately 14 pounds heavier than the base limited model. As far as the transmission is concerned, the TS edition comes with the Toyota Aisin AZ6 based TL70 6-speed manual transmission. It is loosely based on the AZ6. About 80% of that gearbox is different than the AZ6. Has a maximum torque input rating of around 250 newton meters or 184 pound-feet. Although, if you do a little bit of research on these cars, it seems the transmission is actually quite a bit more stout than what it's rated for. Got a two-piece steel drive shaft. The underside's fairly aerodynamic with all the plastic underpaneling. Nice and tidy seam sealer application. Rear transmission crossmember is aluminum. You can see it does have a structural brace up above that goes to the shifter housing to keep it nice and solid feeling. Moving on forward, you got vented hairy cardboard. Interesting. Anyway, you can see the steering rack is located right there and the anti-sway bar right behind it, pretty easy to get to. It is a power assist rack and pinion with a 13.5 to 1 ratio, 2.5 turns lock to lock. On the left side of your screen is the transmission bell housing, and you're looking at the back side of the right bank cylinder head. The steering shaft is right there, pretty easy to get to all that stuff. I mean, ease of maintenance on this car is good. Up front, you have a McPherson strut with lower L-arm suspension configuration. Again, with a set of cast iron knuckles up front, the lower L arm is made out of stamped steel, which you can see the ball joint is pressed directly into. And again, it's paired with a set of those Hitachi STI tuned coilover strut assembly front dampers. Front anti-sway bar measures in at approximately 18mm and change diameter, unchanged from non-TS models. I do very much appreciate that the under engine cover on these cars is metal, not plastic or hairy cardboard, and they actually give you a removable door with physical hardware to access for maintenance. For the true die-hard car enthusiasts watching right now, you may have noticed that this is missing the V-brace, the flexible draw stiffeners, and the rear lateral link set, which is available in the STI parts catalog, which I was hoping to see on this car. It is now time for the braking test. Nothing behind me. Let's see what these Brembos can do. Ready, set, stop. Okay, Jesus! Oh my God, my brain! There's a lot of G-forces on that braking right there. I was expecting it to be good. The bite was just so sharp and crisp. Stopping distance, because I was expecting it to be good, it was as I was expected. It did not exceed it. But it was great braking. That braking was just made possible thanks to a set of 4-piston monoblock Brembo calipers with a 325mm or 12.8-inch one-piece front rotor. The wheels in the TS edition, they are an 18 by 7.5 with a positive 48mm offset alloy manufactured in China, which is the same wheel that comes on the non-TS edition, and it's wrapped in a set of 215/40 18-inch Michelin Pilot Sport tires. Ride height is about a foam finger's width, and inner fender liner, plastic. While the fender vents are functional, it does not have the STI garnish that is in the parts catalog. Just like the other BRZ models, the bumper vents are functional. Now the TS edition does get unique headlights that have a cherry blossom BRZ logo inside the lens housing, which is surprising. There are numerous STI front lips available in the part catalog, however none are included. Crystal black silica mirror covers, however, there is an optional cherry blossom red one available in the catalog. The inner fender liners are actually plastic, and it's got these little side spat pieces on the fender that blend into the bumper. Out back you have a 2-piston Brembo caliper with a 315mm or 12.4-inch rotor. Wheel and tire, same size as you have up front. In the name of science, it is now time to give it the beans, but first, assessment of bolstering. Excellent. Excellent bolstering in these seats. The seats that come in the BRZ are already pretty nice as it is, and for the TS edition, they just kind of accent it in blue stitch and some blue dots and stripes. The seats are manual adjust as they should be in a car like this. Since this is a special model car, that is a special model Penguin. This exact Penguin will be for sale on my website, sarantune.com, if you'd like to take him home. He's one of one. You can tell by the dirt on his cheek and his belly. The seats are heated, physical buttons to control them. The shift boot, which is a vinyl-like substance, also matches the rest of the interior. The shift knob, however, you do not get an STI branded shift knob, although they do offer one. As far as drive modes go, you are the drive modes because it is a proper driver's car. You don't need any robots telling you what to do in here. As far as traction control goes, you have 2 buttons, one for fully off, as well as one for a track mode, which gives the car a little bit of freedom to get crazy at the cheese whiz, but still keeps things compliant so you don't end up doing sketchy banging off guardrails things. It does have aluminum pedal covers to include the dead pedal, but sadly there is no STI logo on them. All right, give this thing a light launch and see what it can do. Ready? A little bit of wheel spin. Yeah, get it. That's so good, so good. Because this car doesn't weigh much, because it's smaller, it feels faster than it is on paper. Hood pop. Nice lightweight hood, no hood strut. Underneath the hood of the 2026 Subaru BRZ TS edition is the FA24D, which is an all aluminum 2.4 liter 4-cam horizontally opposed 4-cylinder that produces 228 horsepower at 7,000 RPM and 184 pound-feet of torque at 3,700 RPM. Now, it separates a TS model Subaru and a dedicated STI model has always been in the engine bay. The engines on TS models are always the same as the standard trim Subaru version. Digging in a little bit deeper on this 2387cc Boxer 4-cylinder, it is over squared at a 94 by 86 millimeter bore and stroke with a 12.5:1 compression ratio. Moving out to the cylinder heads, this features Subaru's dual AVCS active valve control system on both intake and exhaust cams, as well as this is a chain-driven engine with Toyota's port and direct fuel injection system, D4S. Ease of maintenance on these things is great. You have your alternator right up top, easy to get to, AC compressor right up top, easy to get to, oil filter and the fill cap right next to each other. The intake air comes up through a scoop into the air box. You got a snorkel silencer over here and then directly into the center mounted throttle body. Is this cap removable? It is. Yep, and that shows you pretty much nothing. Plastic intake manifold, stick that back on there. There is the exhaust manifold, right front and center, equal length. You see one of the O2 sensors. Up over to the right side of the bay, you can see the ends of the camshafts right here for the AVCS system on the cylinder head. Same goes for the left side of the bay, and the cylinder heads are, about an inch and a half, 2 inches off the frame rail. It does utilize a traditional mechanical vacuum-based brake booster manufactured by Tokiko in Japan. See, the clutch master is right next to it on the firewall. And speaking of the firewall, you can see the top half of the bell housing of the transmission. Ease of maintenance back here is phenomenal. You can see the heater core lines going to the heater core under the dash. The starter motor is just up top, easy to get to. Surprised that the battery is located in the bay on these cars, because moving it out back would probably get you real close to a 50-50 weight distribution. Ever since the first BRZ came out, people have cried for a turbocharged STI model. And I'm one of the weirdos that thinks this car doesn't need a turbo. If they were going to do an STI model, I would love to see a high revving, naturally aspirated version, maybe that achieves 9,000 RPM like the original S2000 when that came out. That would be sweet. Beans engage. Good. Yep. Oh, it's satisfying. One thing that I'm kind of on though is the fake simulated sound getting piped into the car. It doesn't need it. That no real car enthusiast wants that. And this is a good sounding engine naturally, so it's not adding to anything. Quickly forget about it though with the handling of this car. Every time I'm in an 86 or a BRZ, it's instant sheer pleasure. In a different way than you get with an MX-5. The MX-5 is phenomenal too, but I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a Sasquatch. I fit in this car a lot better than I do the MX-5. Now what I really want to see, I know the brakes are already a huge improvement, but these dampers. Unlike the WRX TS, this does not have adaptive dampers, and those were a game changer for the WRX. I mean, I don't notice a huge difference between this and a regular BRZ from these like I did a regular WRX and the WRX TS from the adaptive dampers. They were so noticeable in that car. Whereas this, the car already handled really good out of the box. So it's when you're already up so high of a level of excellence, it's kind of hard to notice a big leap above. I think I'm just salty because the body of the damper isn't gray or pink and doesn't say STI on it. That's what I want to see. That's what I think diehard car nerds want to see when they think of a TS edition. The handling, it's great. It's great handling. So you do notice all the little defects in the road, but I have hit a couple pretty large bumps and it wasn't super abrupt and jarring. So the brakes, I feel, were a noticeable upgrade over the non-TS edition without Brembos. I think those do add a lot to this car. Buying a set of Brembos, even used ones, and retrofitting your vehicle, putting larger rotors and putting the Brembos on and stuff, that's not cheap. I did that to my Forester XT and it was a couple $1,000s just to add Brembos to it. So that starts to make this package make more sense over a regular limited model because it's not a huge jump in price. The good thing about this generation over the last generation with the FA20 is it does have a noticeable, a lot more amount of torque down low. You don't have to drop it down a gear or two to get some beans out of it. Yeah, over that bump right there, it was still nice and smooth. So it's a good damper. I'm also a little bit disappointed that this doesn't have an STI exhaust or even just STI mufflers on it, just to add a little bit of depth to the sound, because I mean it's a great sounding engine when you open them up. That would have been a huge plus. I know that the whole point is to keep the cost down on this, keep it below $40,000, because then you start getting to some stiff competition. But I would like to see at least one or two more things. It could have been cheesy stuff like an STI oil cap, STI shift knob, just little accents, more things that say STI on it. This shifter feel from the AZ6, the TL70, it's great. I mean, the pedal placement, for myself at least, excellent for heel toe. The transmission in this thing, that's a tough one between this and the MX-5 transmission. I don't know which one I like better. They're both pretty phenomenal. Also, this is definitely a car where modifications can quickly ruin it. This is already so good out of the box that you got to be really careful what you do to the car if you're trying to improve it. I think with how fast modern EVs are getting and how cheap it is to get into a fast car, straight line performance is getting less desirable in some aspects, and lightweight cars are getting more and more rare. I don't care as much now about straight line numbers as I do the weight number and the actual feel of the driver, like perspective from driving the vehicle. And this right here is 10 out of 10 when it comes to a driver's car. Storage. Trunk struts. Considering how small the car is, the trunk is surprisingly deep. And there is a tiny hidden compartment in the side over here. You open that, which grants you access to the rear of the fuel filler. I believe that's the little pop mechanism. This one's got an optional rubber trunk tray, which I quite like actually, underneath here. Some foam in a tire inflator recovery kit, as well as some tools. Underside of the trunk lid's actually got some hairy cardboard fabric on it. Nice build quality on that area. Entering the backside. Probably not the right verbiage here. Open. Ouch, my foot doesn't fit under the seat. There we go. There's a little shape in the back seat to give it some definition to it, and the speaker grill looks like a soccer ball. The seat material in the back's just as nice as it is in the front. Tiny little window to look out of. Got a fuzzy hump in the center. If you were 5'6", you could probably sit back here, but being 5'11", that's a huge no unless you just cut your head off. Well, you can see the speaker behind the plastic mesh. It's got like a silver cone. I know there's someone screaming right now, put the seat back. Fine. You know, you could have two 5'3" people driving and sitting behind. Because the car is so small, you can access the center console with the two cup holders and the USB-C ports from the back. There's a little spot right there in the package shelf for your baby to drop anchor. Why? This is one of the few STI badges actually on the vehicle. Also, you'll notice that is one of the only other places you'll see an STI logo in this car. The climate control is still done with these little translucent dials that you can see the temperature digitally on the inside of it. The rest of the controls are physical upfitter switches. The infotainment system in here, thankfully, has not been updated and is satisfyingly simple. Physical buttons so you can develop a muscle memory for where they're at without having to look down and touch the screen. As far as the sound system goes, it has surprisingly more bass than I was expecting. It's pretty clear and crisp until you crank it all the way up, then it will start to distort a little bit, but all in all, not bad. Got dual auto up-down windows. The door cards are also covered in the black Alcantara suede. You get blue stitch for the TS edition. You also get some blue stitch on the steering wheel, which is not flat bottom. It is not an STI steering wheel. Thankfully, the BRZ still has a traditional mechanical parking brake. It also has some of that blue stitch on there. It is a little disappointing they didn't carry the blue stitch onto the floor mats for the special edition. It does have aluminum pedal covers to include the dead pedal, but sadly there is no STI logo on them. As someone that has wasted quite a bit of money importing all the JDM Forester STI TS parts for the Japanese spec TS edition of the Forester, which was never sold here in the United States, to convert my US spec Forester XT into a TS edition, I will say that those parts add up quickly. And for comparison, a 2016 Forester XT Limited sold for about $33,000 US here in the States, while the STI TS edition, which sold only in Japan, converted to US dollars, was about $41,000, which is almost $7,000 difference between the two. And if you adjust for inflation to 2026, you're bringing that Forester Limited up to $46,000, and the JDM STI TS edition was $56,000, almost $57,000. And that was the biggest issue that people had with that special model of the Forester, is that it was ridiculously expensive for the same power level, essentially, and not being a true dedicated STI model. And that is one of the issues with this BRZ TS edition. It doesn't really seem like they did a whole lot to make it a special, unique TS model apart from a limited BRZ. And that's because if they were to do that and use all of the parts available in the STI catalog, which is on the Japanese website for the BRZ, this thing would be at least 18% more than it currently is, which would land somewhere around $46,000 to $47,000. No one in their right mind is going to spend that kind of money on a BRZ that's not even a real STI model and has the same power level. So I understand why Subaru did what they did and just put the stuff that really mattered the most, the Brembo brakes. Regardless though, this is still going to be a future collector car because it is a different, unique, special model that is not that common. You're not going to see a lot of these. As well as the Series Yellow, which they have released for 2026. Pricing wise, you're starting to encroach into the territory of much more powerful vehicles. However, lightness is rareness in today's automotive market, and that's what makes this stand out more than anything. Fuel economy, you can drive this thing like you hate it and still average 26 miles per gallon. So that's excellent. I would choose one of these over a Miata just solely for the fact that it's a coupe and it's got a barely usable back seat. But if you want lightness is the most important feature, go for the MX-5. Otherwise, the GR86 or the BRZ, you can't go wrong with either one. I would argue the special editions of both of those cars are the ones that you're going to want to get if you're going to keep the car for a long time, because they probably will become future classics. It is now time to give this BRZ TS edition some scores. Starting with the bean score, the assessment of feeling you get in your gut when you give it the beans. And it's getting a rating of. Next is the cookie score, the assessment of value. And as this one is equipped behind me at about $39,000, it gets a rating of. Next is the toaster score, the negative assessment on how much of a disposable appliance a vehicle is. And this gets a rating of. It's not. I don't think it is at all in any sense whatsoever. This is like truly not a disposable appliance. Followed by the wrench score, assessment of ease of maintenance, and it earns a rating of. Followed by the squid score, assessment of handling, and it gets a rating of. And lastly is the penguin score, the assessment on how much I personally like a vehicle, and the BRZ TS gets a rating of. Yes, I was highly critical of this car in this review, but I had to be because I literally have the entire STI TS parts catalog on my Forester XT over there. So, you know, this is a diehard Subaru nerds vehicle. It's not really going to make logical sense to anyone else to spend that much extra money on a BRZ when there's not a lot better than a regular BRZ other than the brakes. And yeah, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I'll see you soon with another. Bye. This video is sponsored by me and my very own detailing product line, RoboBubble, made in the USA. This car got some sap on it from being parked under a tree. We're getting into sap season, and as you can see, got some mesquite sap on the back glass of this BRZ. So I'm gonna use some of my bug and tar remover. Let that sit for a sec. Kind of, man, that tree really just puked all over the glass. Use generous amounts of the product. Just kind of blot it. You don't want to rub hard. It's not that type of a situation. Just the objective is to dissolve the sap, not try to rub it off. Pretty much destroyed this microfiber, but rather that than be on the car. Use some of my glass cleaner, which I'm almost out of because I actually use my own stuff. And go over that area, remove the residue from the and the sap. Saturate, let it kind of soak for a sec, then blot it. And the sap is gone. Now I'm going to follow up with my quickie. This will actually protect the paint because it is a quick wax. Go over the areas, remove the residue from the There, just like that. Nice and clean. Subaru, I'll send you my invoice. Shit works good, right?
Shit works good.